Why can't we get AI to production? Our competitors are already. How do we keep data secure? AWS AI cuts through the noise. With ready-to-use agents and the broadest set of AI tools. Stop overthinking. Start building. AWS AI is how.
Hi, it's Jack from The Best One Yet. And every day, Nick and I break down the most fascinating businesses in the world, which is why we're so excited to talk about Boost Mobile.
The businesses we cover, they're wild. A bachelorette party airplane, a viral protein-enhanced pickle brand, an AI app that lets you cheat on anything.
And every one of those business owners knows that their phone isn't a luxury. Their phone is the entire business infrastructure.
Hey, these companies are launching super specific, beautifully curated passion brands from their dorm rooms, basements, and driver's seats.
We depend on our wireless for literally everything about the show.
Boost lets you use the same phone, but with a better plan because every ambition needs a boost.
Literally Boost Mobile, which provides unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month with no contract required.
Simply a much better price than the three big carriers, and Boost service covers 99% of the country.
You're going to have wireless service forever. Saving $25 a month for 10 years, Nick?
You invest that in the stock market, we're talking, $5,000 at least, people. I mean, probably.
Carry the one, add the two. Boost Mobile will make you rich. So visit Boost Mobile today. Every ambition needs a boost.
This podcast is brought to you by Thomson Reuters. The best don't just do their work. They change what's possible. Cases won, audits completed, jobs saved. Behind every one of those moments is a professional who needed to get it right and did. Thomson Reuters builds the technology that sharpens insights, speeds up decision-making, and powers the outcomes that matter. So when professionals act, the impact is felt by everyone. Be a changemaker. Visit tr.com/changemakers.
Welcome to Aran Island Discs, a podcast series where we talk to Irish people from different walks of life as they reflect on their own journeys. Join me, Rossa McDermott, as we explore the many aspects of Irishness and what it means to each of our guests through life's ups and downs. Al Ryan, welcome to Aran Island Discs.
Rossa, lovely to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. It's a great pleasure and an honour to be on the famous Aran Island Discs.
Yeah. We'll wait till you get through it and see if it was an honour.
It might be a different story in 45 minutes.
Now tell us, you have been to Aran Islands?
Oh, many moons ago. I was thinking about this, Rossa, the other day, and it must be over 30 years ago. It's pretty hazy because...
it was foggy.
I'll be honest, it was foggy, but there was a lot of drink taken at the time as well. We were in college at the time, and one of the lads lived in 6 Mile Bridge in Clare. And it was one of these mad notions, come down, boys, for the weekend, and we'll go to the Aran Islands. So down we went, and off we went from, I'm pretty sure from Doolin, out to the Aran Islands, and it was a pretty rough crossing, and it was a rough weekend, but it was a good time. From what I can remember, it was a lovely place. I must really go back and revisit it now in my manhood, as I say, and see what it's like properly. But
and the weather was rough then, was it? The weather was windy and blowy.
It was, if I remember correctly, it was maybe October, November, just as the season changes. And you know what the Atlantic is like anyhow, so it was wild. But anyhow, but it was lovely from what I can remember. And I did buy an Aran jumper. I do have a big Aran Ganzi, so I do have...
You still have that?
Yeah, I still have that. It doesn't fit me now, but I still have it, you know.
Yeah, I was only there in good weather 3 times, so I take my chances. If I go back, I'm sure I'll get a wind and rain, but it was beautiful. The water is like Barbados or Bermuda, crystal clear and blue.
Well, I've yet to witness that, but I'll take your word for it.
You have to go back. You have to go back.
I'll have to go back when the weather is fine in the heart of the summer. This time of the year, I'm sure it's lovely.
Yeah,
you know?
this year would have been super. Yeah, I'm sure it's busy.
Yeah.
Al, how do you define yourself? Are you a jazz musician, radio broadcaster, a continuity man, or?
Oh, well, personally,
if I met you in a lift, what would you say? I'm a radio man.
Banjax, that's it. First of all,
that's your traffic reporting. That's your traffic report.
Yeah, Banjax. Yeah. I suppose when people generally ask you what you do, I usually say I talk for a living.
Yeah.
Because as an Irish person, that's not a bad occupation, really. You know, because I mean that's what you do. You know, you talk. But if you wanted to be, I suppose, broadcaster, I suppose, and then musician after that. But yeah,
but the music is important in your life, isn't it?
Oh, hugely, Rossa.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have music or if I wasn't playing music, you'd go slightly funny. Well, I certainly would go slightly funny. I've found, even when you go on holidays or an extended break or anything like that, and you're not playing music and you come back to it and you kind of, God, I missed this. But of course, before you go on holidays, you're sick to death of it. But I do.
Meet down in Benidorm there and then take out your trumpet and blow them all out of it, would you?
Exactly. Listen, I want people to enjoy themselves. They don't need that.
Yeah.
They don't need that. Yeah, no, music is hugely important. And it sort of runs alongside the radio day job, I suppose. But it's just
like two personalities. Not, as Michael Caine would say, not a lot of people know that you're a trumpeter, would they?
Well, that's true. That's true. And, it was one of those things. I had sort of great ambitions, as everybody does when they're growing up, that I wanted to be the next great trumpet player and play in a big orchestra. And then I quickly realised when I was coming over and back to London to get lessons that not only London, but the UK was full of far greater trumpet players than I would ever be. And so when you realise that, you kind of go, well, I may think of something else to do now. So, and that's how I sort of fell into radio. But to answer your question, I suppose I would describe myself as a broadcaster. If that would be if it was being professional about it. That's what I'd say.
And you originate from Kilcullen?
I am.
Was it Cross and Passion you went to?
I did, all cross and no passion, as we used to say about it.
It's a funny name for school nowadays.
It certainly is. But when I was there, it had just gone co-educational at the time, back in the midst of time, 89, 90, which was great when you were a first year, because you had all these sixth-year girls who were boarders and all of that, which was a great education for a young fella, so it was
we were
good.
Boarders, just male boarders, and we had to go to Dominion Common Wicklow to meet the other side. Do you know what I mean? So
yes, yeah.
very different times.
Stand across the dance floor and all of that, But no, it was good. The nuns were still very much present.
Yeah.
Our headmistress was Sister Joan, who ruled with an iron fist at the time. Yeah. But I have very fond memories of school in Kilcullen. I still have a couple of pals that I still see when I go home. And it's lovely because my mum and dad still live in Kilcullen. They're still there, so I like to get home and see the folks. But so that was reared in Kilcullen, and all the extended family are from Graignamanagh in County Kilkenny, on the banks of the Barrow, which is a lovely part of the world. I don't know whether you've ever been there, Rossi, but it is a gorgeous part of the country as well.
It is lovely, yeah. And the trumpet was the thing that changed your life, was it? You had the gift from your parents?
Well, it was more I pestered them for it. I remember being off sick from school, and when you'd be sitting at home feeling sorry for yourself, lying on the couch going, "Oh, ma, I can't go in. I'm dying," And at that time, we were lucky. We had BBC 2 telly and we had Channel 4 and stuff. And they used to show old movies in the afternoon. And I remember seeing a movie. There was 2 movies. There was the Glenn Miller story was on with Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
And then there was another movie with Danny Kaye and Louis Armstrong called The Five Pennies.
Yeah. And
I sat there watching it and I heard this music and I thought, Jesus, what's this? Obviously it was jazz. It was set in the 1920s. I thought, and I'd only heard Louis Armstrong on the radio singing "What a Wonderful World," and you didn't know that he'd been the greatest trumpet player of all time.
Correct, yeah.
And all of these things. And I suddenly got this thought in my head, God, I'd love to play the trumpet. Because my mother's cousin was a wonderful musician, a guy called Peary Fenlon, and he ran the brass band in Graignamanagh. And he was a fantastic trumpet player, long since departed, but a very generous man and a great, I suppose, a hoarder, a magpie of music and all of these great things. I remember going down and asking Peary for advice and how to lip the horn and all that kind of thing. And then, because my dad was in the army, in the Curragh, and he knew a lot of the lads in the army band. Yeah. There was a fella, I think it was Charlie Parsons. He was a Kilkenny man. And he had an old trumpet that he was trying to teach a fella with. And your man got so frustrated that he broke it off the door. He got so frustrated with the thing. So me dad, I'd been saving up my pocket money. And at that time you were on 50 pence a week you were getting. And I'd about 40 quid in one of the old Bank of Ireland little money boxes. Yeah. And I said, would he take 40 quid for it? And he took me hand for it. Anyway, so he took 40 quid. And it was an old battered thing. And I still have it. I still have it downstairs. I couldn't part with that because I have many trumpets now, Ross. But it's still of pure sentiment.
Well, you're a serious professional now. You have to have a few trumpets.
Well, I have a few. You know what I mean? They're stashed away here, there, and everywhere. So her cell phone see them. But if she hears this now, she'll know about it. She'll know about it.
We'll bleep it out. You'll be
yeah. Edit this out. But so that was the start of it. And there was a little brass band in Newbridge. Me dad knew again the people there. So I went in there to learn how to play the trumpet, and I was taught by a brilliant man called Mick Healy, who was he was principal cornet with the band of the Curragh Command, but he would also do stuff then with the Dublin, with the number one band. And he was fantastic. And he sort of taught me the basics and gave me the encouragement then to go on to, the College of Music in Dublin and stuff like that. But I used to get in and out to Newbridge because we didn't have a car at the time. So I used to get a lift with the man in Kilcullen who used to show the pictures in Newbridge. He was the projectionist.
Yeah.
Lovely man called PJ Quinn. And he was also a fruit and veg man by day and a projectionist by night.
So he's going up to Dublin early in the morning, was he?
Yeah, he'd be up to Capel Street to get the veg.
Yeah.
So I'd be, and he had a big high-ace van. So there you'd be sitting in the back of the high-ace van on a box of oranges going into Newbridge, and then you'd have to wait for him to show the picture. And then get the lift home, But it was great. And then if there was a film that you liked, he'd get you the poster for it,
Yeah.
So you'd come out with an armful of rolled up movie posters at the time and everything. So it was great. Sort of
It sounds magical, in a way.
Yeah, when I think back about it now, I guess
like those things are gone now, Al. I mean, those kids couldn't get even close to living that kind of life, as simple as it was. There was a magic to it. Maybe as I get older, I get nostalgic. But I used to collect posters. Well, I remember stealing Apocalypse Now from the Adelphi one time because it was so fascinating. Now you wouldn't see a poster, nobody would be interested. You buy replicas in the shops now.
Yeah, and they're worth a fortune now, apparently, those old... The original movie posters. I moved over here nearly 15 years ago to England, and there's still stuff in the man Da's house, in the attic. And I was home recently. I was home in February, and I brought the car.
Aloysius, please empty the attic.
Exactly. Would you ever bring that stuff up with you? And I came across all these movie posters. It was Back to the Future and all of these kind of things. But it's a lovely memory to have. And when I think back now, and it was, I suppose, an idyllic. An upbringing, really. I was very lucky because I'm an only child as well. And I wasn't spoiled rotten before you asked either.
I'm sure. We take your word for it. We'll take
I have the scars to prove it.
And how was that? I mean, it did change. I come from 4. So does it change the way you deal with the world? You're automatically independent? You just because you have to get on with it? Like, I'm thinking in the sense that you moved to London from the, people say, the safety of Limerick and Donnybrook and all that, and pitched up in London. Not many people would say that was easy to do at the time, because it was a huge move. But maybe as an only child, you were used to do things first.
First of all, you don't know any different when you're an only child. Yeah. And because my dad is a twin, he's one of 5 or 6. Right. And his twin brother has an only son as well. But... I suppose no different, I guess. And I think as well, it's funny, a lot of people in radio are only children. Marty Whelan, who's a great pal of mine. Yeah. And
he's Marty's this year, wasn't he?
He certainly was. And boy, did we know about it.
We're still knowing about it.
We're still hearing about it. Yeah. But Marty's a great pal, but he's an only child. And a lot of people that I work with here are only children. So I think there must be something in the mindset.
You're self-sufficient, your thought process.
And you spend so much time in your own head, anyhow, doing this job, and also as a child, amusing yourself. I mean, I had lots of friends, but I was equally happy with my own company. And my partner, Julie, she's an only child as well. But we've 2 very different types of only child.
So you sit in separate rooms to stay separate?
Oh, yeah, completely, yes. We're very close.
It's funny, isn't it? But obviously, self-independence, you're comfortable in your own skin, you don't need somebody beside you in a way. It makes you go into a career which is different to people who need to have somebody with them,
Yeah, but yet I love company. I mean, I love having people around. I love having family and friends visit us. And I love that sort of thing. But as I say, it doesn't bother me because people say to you, oh, do you mind being in Broadcasting House on your own that hour? I don't really think about it. It's only myself and the mice, really. That
and you switch yourself off and go home.
Exactly. That's it. Once I hand over the World Service with one, that's it. I'm out the door and I'm gone home for the next day, But it's funny.
You did a producer course in RTE before you went over, or you did it before you went into RTE?
I did many things in RTE, including being hugely frustrated there. Yeah. But
it's fun. I don't want to go off air on this, but it's a funny dynamic in there. The air is very rarefied in there somehow.
It is. It's a funny old place.
Yeah, funny.
But I have fond memories of being in Montrose, and I was very lucky with the people that I worked with.
Yeah.
But before I got into radio, because I had done music in Maynooth, and I thought, well, maybe I'll become a teacher. And I was doing a period of maternity cover for a friend down in Castledermot in the secondary school, and it was terrifying, Rossa, because I wasn't much older than the people I was teaching.
Yeah.
And I thought, Christ, this there's got to be more to this, because before that I'd been working in Kildare County Council as a clerical officer, and you were working in the environment department.
Yeah.
And then there was the threat of sending me to motor tax. And I thought, no, I can't do it. So I with encouragement from my mother, I wrote to various radio stations, because I'd done a bit of radio.
Yeah, where did that grow off the radio come from then? You're on this course studying minute of music, trumpeting. Where did it grow off the radio come from?
Well, I went on to do a course in music technology, and it was sort of in its infancy at the time, but there was a college radio station, and there was, I don't know, the Maynooth Song Contest or something was on, and we were playing in it, and, you know, they were talking to all the bands and stuff like that, so they said, oh, you go, you talk. So I said, okay, well, and I thought, oh, this is quite nice. I sort of instantly felt comfortable doing it, and then thought no more about it. As part of the music technology course, we had to make a radio program. And the lady who was doing it was Marion McAvoy, who's Eleanor McAvoy's sister.
Yeah.
We all did a program where we all helped each other and everything. And she said a couple of us had a sort of a natural thing for it. And she said to me, you should really write to RTE. They're looking for people, and maybe, you know, you should think about it. So I thought, not a chance in hell. You know what I mean? What's a Kildare man going to do? Because, I mean, at the time, I was talking like that, you know what I mean? Like, I sounded like Christy Moore, you know? And a glass of water and all that.
Water, yeah.
So I thought, I haven't got a hope in hell. But anyhow, so I sort of filed it away, and then I was doing the teaching, and I thought the period of maternity cover was coming to an end, and I thought I need to really do something with my life, with music or something. Yeah. So either that or was going back to motor tax. So that was the incentive. So I wrote to Ardmore Studios, I wrote to all the stations in Dublin, and Lyric had only started 1999. So this was around, not soon after that. And I wrote to Lyric, and I got a letter back saying, come down for a chat. So I thought, well, okay, I'd never been to Limerick in my life. Right. So I went on the bus and got to Lyric, met the boss, and had a chat. And as it happened, there was a couple of people who'd been there temporarily. They'd been sent down from Montrose to help with the setup of the station. And then they were going back to their substantive role. So he said, we could offer you 3 months' work. And I said, I'll take it.
Oh.
And I ended up staying nearly 11 years. So that's how it started.
And the first job was continuity or a show?
No, making tea was the first thing. You know, that was the and filing discs.
Making good tea, Al, is important.
Yeah. Learning how to make tea in Limerick, and then filing discs in the library. Yeah. You were a production coordinator. You were sort of you had to learn how to do everything. Yeah. But I was very lucky from the beginning, because the people that were there, they had worked in RTE for years. So I learned how to edit. I learned how to write. Digital editing was sort of the new big thing. There were still splicing tapes, but digital editing had started, and we were still using mini discs and the old magneto-optic, the old MO for playing commercials. So I learned how to run a proper studio desk, and then you were tech-opping. And then I was very lucky, because I'm a huge jazz fan. And one of the first programs I worked on, well, it was the lunchtime request program was the first thing, because I knew about classical music and all that. So that was the request program. And it was the same requests every day from the same people.
Same people.
Barry and Stalogan wants to hear Andrea Bocelli saying time to say goodbye. But it was a great education. And I was very lucky with the people that I worked with. The late Sean Rocks was one of the first people I worked with. Sean was on Lunchtime Choice at the time. Eamon Lawler, all of those people, Carl Corcoran.
Wow.
Yeah. And then... So that's how it started. And then I was lucky enough then, you know, as the years went on, I started doing a little bit of little voice pieces. You'd go off and do a report on Shannon Musical Society, doing Singing in the Rain.
But people don't realise how, when you're trying to get into business, to go and be sent to do a piece, whatever it is, it's hugely important, because that's suddenly your material to show off. You know, it's your reel.
Exactly, it becomes part of your show.
People say, why would you go down to Limerick to report? Because it's cool. I'm going to talk for 10 seconds, 20 seconds. It could be, it's cool.
Yeah, and I'm going to be on national radio. This is my big break.
No, I did an anchor course with Bunny Carr. We studied down in Cork.
Stop the lights, Bunny.
And we did all the media training, and that's all I wanted to do all my life, Al. And I couldn't get in, no matter how I tried. I worked with Gabriel Egan. And I remember writing a piece, sports news, with old Viren Jones, God rest him, for Mike Murphy in the morning. And when Mike read what I wrote, 6 words in a row about the racing, I think it was Dermot Weld had a horse. I felt huge to hear Mike Murphy read what I wrote, 6 words in a row. I mean, but people forget how important that is to what when you're trying to develop a career.
It's so true. And when you're starting out as well, it's very important because you write a cue for somebody like that, or you write a piece, you do a bit of research and you put together something for somebody.
Yeah.
And, you hear Eamon Lawler or Maureen Galt or whoever it was at the time reading out those things. And you think, God, this is amazing. And you have a sense of pride in what you've done. It was a great training ground for all of that and learning how to make radio and how to do radio. And then, as I said, I was very lucky with the people that I worked with, because I worked with Marty came along. As I say, Marty is still a great personal friend. He comes over to see us here. And then Gable, who was my sort of great lord and master. Yeah. And I was lucky to work with Gay for 7 years on a Sunday afternoon show. And that was really the beginnings and the encouragement to do something more in radio it's all Gable's fault, all of this,
Poor man. And by then, Dorinos will sort out your water accent and you start talking.
Oh, yes. As Gay would say, you need to eradicate the soft Irish tea, And that was the beginning of it. But working with Gay was a masterclass. I mean, you learned at the feet of the master, He was just to sit and watch and to do, I would do all his running orders and do all the research for him, but little bits of musical. I mean, he had a huge musical knowledge himself, particularly about jazz. And we were sort of kindred spirits in that respect. And we would go off to jazz concerts together and all that. But that was the beginnings of it sort of getting serious as a career. Yeah, all down to him, really, I think, and the encouragement. And Marty was hugely encouraging as well, but Gay especially, I think, in terms of doing something about it and coming over here because the conversation.
Yeah, by the time you went to London, was it trendy to be Irish? Because I was in London when it wasn't trendy, Al.
Yeah, well, I can imagine.
The 80s was not the place you want to be being Irish. So when you got there, things had kind of changed.
It had, yeah, because when you think back, my family have had a long association with the UK. I mean, like many people in the 1950s, my grandfather came over and worked here. He was a builder. But he would come home then with interesting stories. Like he'd worked in Ealing Studios and all these places, but building movie sets, which was really interesting. And then my late uncle Michael came to live here in the 1970s and lived here till probably the 1990s. So as a kid with the man Dad, we'd come over here on holidays. He lived in Ealing. So, you were sort of aware of that. But by the time I got here, it's a very different story. Yeah. You're generally accepted as one of their own, I think, being Irish over here because there's second and third generation Irish here. And the first program I ever did when I got here, when I joined BBC Oxford was the first job that I got over here.
And did you live in Oxford or are you commuting from London?
No, I lived in Oxford. We were living just outside Oxford because Julie had got a job working for the estate of J.R. Tolkien, who wrote Lord of the Rings. And next door to that was BBC Oxford. And I thought, well, I wasn't getting a whole lot of work. So I went in and knocked on the door and I said, how are you? And I might be of some use. I've worked in RTE for 11 years and do this. I said, well, come in and have a chat. And there was a Sunday afternoon program called Irish Eye, presented by a guy called Henry Wims, who still writes for the Irish Post. A lovely, lovely fella. And Henry was going on holidays. And they said, would you look after Irish Eye for Henry? And
You're either all in on this model, or maybe you're building with another. You're either speed, or is it security? You're either custom, or are you ready to use? Or you're AWS AI. With hundreds of models, ready-to-use agents, speed and security built in, you don't have to pick a side. You can have them all. How will AI revolutionize your business? AWS AI is how.
Join me, Monica Reinagel, for a live taping of the Nutrition Diva podcast in Washington, D.C. On Wednesday, August 19th, we are gathering at the beautiful Friends of the National Arboretum to dive into the science of hydration. We're kicking the evening off with a sunset yoga session, followed by the live podcast recording and an open Q&A. So bring your most burning nutrition and hydration questions. Come for the yoga, come for the show, or do both. A huge thanks to our friends at Liquid IV for making this night possible and keeping us hydrated all evening long. Spots are limited. Grab yours and RSVP now at nutritiondivadc.com.
And I thought, Jesus, I left Ireland to get away from Daniel O'Donnell and Declan Nerney and all of that sort of
And
thing.
there you are.
And there I am. The first record I played was Joe Dolan, Good Looking Woman on BBC Radio. And that was it. But it was a big show to do because it was broadcast across the south of England. It went out on Berkshire and Kent. And so you covered a huge Irish diaspora, the expat people who would come over here in the 50s and had longings for home.
And those shows are important to people who live abroad that way.
Absolutely.
That's a link back home. And they sit there every Sunday or every Friday night, wherever it is. They used to have one in Boston and they tune in just to hear what's going on at home.
Sunday afternoon, 2:00. Yeah. And you'd be playing all, stuff that you were reared with, but also it gave you the chance to play some more contemporary Irish music as well, which was wonderful. But it was a 3-hour program, no running order. You put it all together yourself. And it was a request program. So it was great. So you'd get requests from people. Yeah, it ran itself. Yeah. And, you'd get some lovely stories from people. And I used to love that. You get the letters. These people still would write letters to you. So you used to get all of that. But that was a great program to do. It's long since gone now when they made all the changes. The BBC local radio, any specialist music program, appointment to listen program, they were eradicated, which I think was a huge mistake because that audience isn't being catered for at all now.
And local radio doesn't really pick them up either.
No, not at all, because it's all playlisted now.
Yeah,
I mean, by the time I'd left BBC Oxford, because you were sort of doing a Radio 2 kind of playlist by that point. Yeah. And it was all playlisted. And God help you if you moved a record. There'd be a parliamentary inquiry. Why did you move Ed Sheeran again? So
I remember talking to Deb Grant about BBC Radio 6, which is
Deb,
And Deb said, I said, do you have a playlist like RTE? You can only play these 10 records every day. Oh no, we can do what I said, what? You can do what you want. Yes, she said, it's amazing.
Yeah, she's very lucky. 6 Music is one of the few bastions.
It survived. It was close to going down. And it's come back. I think it's a brilliant station, even for an old fogey like
great. Me. I love what Deb does. I love what Guy Garvey does. She's got
better and better and stronger and stronger. I think she's class.
She's great. And again, flying the flag for Ireland. Yeah. And I think she's living in Salford.
She moved to Manchester. Obviously, when they relocated, most people think it's only Lauren Laverne, but it doesn't live anywhere other than London. I think what's his name? They've all moved up. That's where Salford is. BBC 6.
Oh, this is it. Well, I spend a lot of time on my train now up there as well to Manchester because I do Radio 3 Breakfast. I do the holiday cover for Radio 3 Breakfast, and that comes out of Salford now as well. So you're on the train to Manchester an awful lot of the time, or if I'm doing the afternoon program.
But must have your own cabin, you guys, go up and down.
I thought I might get a part-time job as a train conductor. Might be.
And the Shipping Forecast was done from Broadcasting House, was it?
That's done from Broadcasting House every night. It's live every night till 1 a.m. Because people think, do you pre-record it or can you do it from home? No,
you can't predict rising slowly or falling quickly or you can't be predicting that.
No, you can't do that, south or southwest. West later, 4 to 6, occasional rain, good, occasionally moderate. You can't do any of that. You've got it. It's all live. And because people don't realise you're actually running the network. You're on
your own.
Yeah, and you're pressing play on the Archers and all of these programs. So you're responsible for a national network. You're talking to a potential audience of 8-9 million people. Yeah. So if you mess up, you're going to hear about it. But doing the ships, you're there on your own. The duty producer goes home at 7:00, and you're there on your own. You've got the newsreader downstairs, but they finish at midnight. But you're upstairs on the 4th floor, old Broadcasting House in the old part of the building, on your own. And that's it. There's just you and a mic and a lamp.
Come on, the Portland Street door, do you? The brown door.
Exactly, yeah, and a pile of paper. That's it. In the cupboard.
Being Irish certainly means a lot to you still, Al, is it? Having lived there, 15 years in the UK, Irishness is something that still travels with you.
I think very much. I mean, you can't escape it. And I think it's only when you're away, and you'll know this, Ross, as well, that when you're away from Ireland, and it's only when you realise then that you're away and your identity. And I think it's a
different thing when you're away, I believe, Al, than what you think Irishness is here in Kilcullen or Clane or Dublin if you haven't been away.
That's true. It's very different because when you come home and you see people who stayed home, they didn't leave, and they've got married and had a family there, and that's their world.
Yeah,
and it's very different when you come back to Ireland now, and it's a very different place. And I think Irishness. I remember seeing an interview with Peter O'Toole many years ago, and I think he described his Irishness as being almost the centre of his being.
Yeah.
You know, that everything he thought of was coloured by Ireland's history, its literature, its people, its geography, and all of those things. And you don't really realise that until you're home and you fit in with everybody. Because, as you know, London it's a difficult place. It's a tough place.
Yeah.
And it's not the friendliest place in the world. And it's tough. You know, and it's only when you go home and you realise everybody, as you go down the street, you're like Phil Lynott in Old Town, in that video for Old Town, where you're saluting everybody going down the road, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's a great difference in that the Irishness in people, even when people are away, and people that I work with in the BBC that are Irish, or if you meet an Irish person in a cafe or whatever, and you say, oh, it's lovely to hear a voice from home.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of shorthand that Irish people have with each other. That never leaves, I think. And we love to chat as well, I think. But yeah, Irishness, I think, is important, particularly because it's your identity. And, you know, I can't escape having an Irish voice on British radio. You know, Terry Wogan was the great master of that. You know, Terry paved the way for a lot of us during those dark days. He
never tried to hide it, and people knew it. And he was always he was comfortable reading letters from people in Fairview as he was reading people from Egham. I mean, he didn't actually differentiate. He didn't make an issue that he was Irish either. He kind of just blended in.
No, not at all. Exactly. And that, you know, he assimilated very much the UK life. And I think that's one of the great tricks here, like Graham Norton has done as well, that it's assimilating to life in the UK, but without losing your identity. It's one of those things. You know, I saw Graham recently. We were at the Irish Embassy and we were just sort of chatting away. And it's amazing that even Graham has been here, maybe 40 years now. He came here in the 80s. But yet he hasn't lost his Irishness. No. You know, the same way as Terry didn't, or Val Doonican. Never. Val was still the boy from Waterford. Yeah. But he was the king of Saturday Night Telly, the same as Terry was the boy from Limerick. And it's holding on to that identity, but also the fact that it's accepted here. And I'm sure you've spoken about this before, about the Irish voice over here. It's classless, which is a great advantage.
Yeah, it allows your movement much easier. It does, no doubt about it.
Completely. But yeah, I think, Irishness, I don't think it ever leaves you. Although some people say to me when I go home, oh, you've lost your Irish accent.
We all get that. You know? You sound feckin' American. We just stop.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're gone very grand.
One day you might say garbage by mistake, or you know. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, you're gone.
As somebody says, it's a place where you're never forgiven for any mistake when you come back. Be sure of that. You'll always be reminded. Even Byrne says that you'll be reminded who you are as soon as you land.
Yeah. I remember when you didn't have an arse in your trousers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's the usual.
Don't forget.
Thing.
I remember that day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're the same fella. You know.
Is resilience something that's particularly Irish? Or is that a narrative we like to believe at times? Are we tougher than the rest? Are we just more gritty, or is that
for a little country? I think we're pretty tough. You know, when you think of the Irish diaspora worldwide, I think Dylan Moore says how we've infested everywhere where we went. Yeah. But yeah, I think we're tough. We're a tough little country, but also we've brought an awful lot to the world with culture and art and writing and all that. But I think in resilience, I think you have to be resilient no matter where you're from. But I think...
Well, was it tough when you went to the UK? I mean, you tell the story of J.R. Tolkien, Oxford. It sounds as if everything bounced, the luck of the bounce, everything worked out. But there must have been some fear of failure, tough moments, and say, Jesus, why did I end up here?
Well, look at, in this game particularly, you have to be resilient because there is so much rejection. Yeah. In this game. I mean, even before I left Ireland in RTE, you had to be resilient there. And you had to be very, very thick-skinned as well, because I remember applying for the same job 8 times, and I still didn't get it. Yeah. Sometimes your face doesn't fit or whatever. But when I worked in RTE, I couldn't get arrested there. You know, no matter what I did. And you know, but you had to be resilient. And I remember, sitting in front of interview panels and doing audition tapes and reels and all of that, and
you had to do it, because if you didn't do it, you wouldn't be in the mix. And if you're in the mix, you weren't going to get it anyway. But it gets frustrating. And there is an area in that building of people who are trying to make the breakthrough, and they hit the glass ceiling, and they have to do something like you've done.
Yeah, well, this is it. Sometimes you have to leave to come back. Not that I don't think I'll ever come back unless,
Would you come back? I mean, Ireland has changed. I came back after 10, it was a different place. I'm still not right, I think. Yeah. Because I'm a changed person. Would you find the same, you think?
Maybe...
This podcast is brought to you by Thomson Reuters. The best don't just do their work, they change what's possible. Cases won, audits completed, jobs saved. Behind every one of those moments is a professional who needed to get it right and did. Thomson Reuters builds the technology that sharpens insights, speeds up decision-making, and powers the outcomes that matter. So when professionals act, the impact is felt by everyone. Be a changemaker. Visit tr.com/changemakers.
Join me, Monica Reinagel, for a live taping of the Nutrition Diva podcast in Washington, D.C. On Wednesday, August 19th, we are gathering at the beautiful Friends of the National Arboretum to dive into the science of hydration. We're kicking the evening off with a sunset yoga session, followed by the live podcast recording and an open Q&A. So bring your most burning nutrition and hydration questions. Come for the yoga, come for the show, or do both. A huge thanks to our friends at Liquid IV for making this night possible and keeping us hydrated all evening long. Spots are limited. Grab yours and RSVP now at nutritiondivadc.com.
Maybe to retire, not in the near future, I think. And it's lovely to go home. As I say, it's a very different place. It's a very multicultural place now, which is fantastic. Because there's so many different places in Dublin and even in Kilcullen and Newbridge and Naas and places where I grew up.
And food, variety, ethnicity.
Oh yeah. And
you meet a whole generation now, Al, who are very different the way they look and think, and they're all Irish and they came from parents from Barbados, Nigeria.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's fascinating to see the it seems so far we've done a good job of that melting pot.
Absolutely.
I think the Irish soccer team is most of them are second generation immigrants.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic. And when I lived in Limerick, there was a huge Polish community at the time then as well. And as I say, they've all got married and have kids of their own there now, and which is wonderful. And as you say, the Irish football team. It's a very diverse team now as well. It's a far cry from the Jack Charlton days, you know what I mean? Which was, I guess, the beginnings of it, because you had the Irish grandmother or grandfather.
Yeah, and then we gave out and they would kind of, what's called plastic paddies. And then,
Yeah.
But then when they were winning, we certainly loved them.
Well, you think World Cup 90 and USA 94 and all those things, I mean, the whole nation was, alive. But it is, just to go back to the resilience thing, yeah, I think you have to be resilient, whether you're going to a new place when you move. When I moved to Limerick, that was a very different thing. And a friend of mine made a mistake wearing a Leinster jersey. And I was DJing, one of my little sideline jobs at the time was, I was DJing at Peter Clohessy at a pub in Limerick at the time called the Sin Bin.
Sin Bin.
Or the pub was called Clohessy's, and the club
the disco was the Sin Bin.
The Sin Bin. And if Munster were playing, it was the place to be.
Yeah.
And I remember a friend of mine coming down, Leon. He wore Leinster, he's a mad rugby fan, wore the Leinster jersey, and this fella said to him, I won't repeat exactly what he said to him, but he said, if you don't take that shirt off your cam, I'll burn it off your back.
I can't imagine that would happen in Limerick.
No, not at all. But so you had to be resilient, in those instances. But certainly moving to the UK, this was a whole new thing. Yeah, you didn't have a job, you didn't really have much of a plan, and it wasn't easy because you were starting from scratch. Nobody knew you.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what you could do or any of those things. But as I say, I was lucky. As I said, the bounce was lucky. But I'm also a great believer in two things. What's meant for you won't go by you. And also use what you've got going for you. That's sort of two great things that I live by. And
But you remind me of the conversation I had with Willie Walsh. He said he planned nothing. Things just fell into place and he just made the decision to do them if he was offered them.
Yeah.
You sound a bit the same, that things kind of, I went into radio, BBC Oxford, and they were looking for somebody. I said yes.
Yes, yeah.
Things have kind of worked your way?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, my other great ambition, I wanted to be a commercial airline pilot. That's what I really wanted to do. When I left RTE, and I tried to get on the Aer Lingus cadet course, and I failed the medical because I have no sense of smell. I'm anosmic. So that was the end of that. So it was back to radio then. But yeah, I've sort of fallen into things, and I've been very lucky. But also, there's been times you kind of go, do you know what? If this doesn't work out, we can always go home. And there has been times like that where we've had that conversation, saying, this, you're not getting much work. Things are tough.
Your partner is Irish, yeah.
No, she's English,
Oh,
which
she's-
doesn't
all right.
doesn't make her a bad person, as I say. but she worked in lyric.
Okay.
And a funny story. She was the person who wrote to me to come down for.
Oh, she-
And she has little or no recollection of that. And clearly, I made a huge impression on her. But I mean, it hasn't been. Listen,
But I think that gives you freedom, though, Al. If you say if it doesn't work out, you can deal with the fact you have to move back. There's a lot of people who get caught up in moving back is failure. And failure is something Irish people often struggle with. What will the neighbours say? What will people say?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, things don't work out for everybody. Everybody has ups and downs. And going back, it's not really going back. You have to move on. And if it's going back is part of it to succeed, so be it.
Exactly. And sometimes you have to do these things to get to where you are. And that's one of those, I don't know what you call them, those moments in life where if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have ended up here.
Yeah.
Or the easiest thing in the world would have been to stay in Limerick.
Yeah.
And to stay at Oíche. It was a very nice life. And, it was a good job and we had a nice house and all of that. But sometimes you have to frighten yourself. Sometimes as well, because, at that time, I remember having a conversation with Julie. We were sat in the People's Park in Limerick and saying, look, if we don't do this, we'll spend the rest of our life wondering, what if we had?
Okay.
If we had.
Never spend your life wondering. That's the only thing that age has taught me. Don't spend your life wondering. Exactly,
because, as a fella says, there ain't no rehearsal. This ain't no rehearsal and this is it. So we said, look, we'll go and we'll try it. And if we don't, we can always come home. And thank God it's worked out.
So far, so good.
And things are all right. But it is weird. And, going home wouldn't have been a bad thing either, because at least then you would have known that, okay.
I gave it a shot.
I gave it a shot. It didn't work out. But there it is.
We'll be still talking about it.
Exactly. There he is. I mean, he went.
Who do you think he was going off to London? Who do you think?
There he is. Yeah, it didn't work out, did it? No. But no, it is. It's funny, those moments. I suppose fate, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's fate, yeah. As much as you plan, certain things happen because they happen and you have no control over them.
Exactly.
So be it.
Yeah, those weird things, those weird moments in life where you go, well, if I hadn't agreed to
sliding doors, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly those sliding doors moments that just work out for the best. And, they don't all work out, but most of the time, you've been lucky,
And what songs or music has travelled you through thick and thin? The bad days, good days? Is it the same music, same song? Or it's going to be jazz, I presume. Some Wilson Marsalis song, just because you interviewed him.
Well, I did, yeah. I'm a great fan. My friend Winton, who's a great fan, by the way, of W.B. Yeats. Is his favourite poet. But no, music, as we were saying earlier, hugely important thing. And it's like asking to pick your favourite child. I love all kinds of music. And I love classical, obviously, with Radio 3. I work an awful lot of classical, jazz. But also I love pop music. I'm a huge fan. I'm a great lover of Van Morrison. I love Richard Hawley. He's a great singer-songwriter from Leeds.
Yeah.
But I think one of my favourite songs...
He was Pulp, wasn't he?
He was in Pulp, at Once Upon a Time. But I love Jimmy Webb. Wichita Lineman, I love.
I think his version, he does one version, I think, is J.T.M. Taylor and Billy Joel do it.
That's right.
It's the best version I have ever heard.
Gorgeous album, that he did of his own music, songs. I think didn't Mark Knopfler turn up on that album as well.
But that song, I mean, Glenn Campbell did a great job, but I think that version of all those guys together and the rhythm, the sound, the vocalization, to me is superb.
It's a great album. That's, what was it, Just Across the River, I think that album was called. But I mean, I love those... I love story songs. And I think, again, that stems back to my childhood, because my parents were great lovers of country music as well. But American country music, like singers like Marty Robbins and Slim Whitman and people like that. Those great story songs, Johnny Cash. And I think that's why I like stuff like Wichita Lineman and songs like that.
They create images, I think, don't they?
Yeah, it is. It just...
I've never been to Wichita, but I have this thing in my head of what a Wichita Lineman might be and look like. I'm sure it's totally wrong.
Those wide open prairies, those big skies. But I love stuff like that, stuff that transports you, because, in those dark days where you can put on something like that, you're transported away. It's like, I love Coney Island by Van Morrison, which is a great song. as well. It's a very short song, but just the image that it conjures, and it makes you feel
the jam jar, having a pint in the jam jar.
Exactly, yeah. And it's the images that it evokes. And then, I mean, there's so many pieces of classical music as well that do that. You have the Lark Ascending and things of those English pastoral stuff. But jazz, again, is my great companion throughout life.
And you still play regularly, do you?
Yeah, I've...
a band?
Recently I put the big band back together again, which was a 16-piece big band. And trying to put together a 16-piece.
Good luck.
It's like herding cats. You know what I mean? It's
rather really you than me, yeah.
Ah, God, but it was great fun. We did a local thing for a local village hall. Was 100th celebration, so we did that. And again, I'm lucky. I know a lot of really, really good musicians, great jazzers, and they come along and play. It's lovely to do. There's no money in it, but it's great fun. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And you still get the joy of playing and doing music. And and then this is radio is the day job.
And tell us, if I asked you how the top of the 834 was now, is it still starty stoppy? Is it? Or is it totally banjacks?
Totally banjacks, probably around Junction 9. God, the days of BBC.
But I mean, you became the same with the shipping forecast. I mean, I know Longwave closed down. My father was even given out about he's used this in Longwave all his life. But the whole, there's a letter in the Irish Times 3 years ago, Al Ryan's gone, what's going to happen? Like the whole, apart from the Yehovah thing, the whole disappearance of the shipping forecast.
Yeah, well, certainly with the disappearance on Longwave, the shipping forecast.
But people live by Longwave. A lot of people loved Longwave.
Well, it's funny, even like when I think back to growing up and visiting my father's parents in Great Amana, they had one of those big old
transistors.
Or it was a big Baker line radio with the buttons on it. Yeah. And they used to listen to Radio Aran or Radio 1. They used to still listen on 252 Longwave. Exactly. You know what I mean? Rather than on FM. Yeah. But it's just another thing, I think, that's gone, and it's a huge part of people's lives. And that's been a constant in people's lives with the demise of Longwave. The letters and emails that I used to get from people across the world, Ross, they might have nothing to do with the UK, or they found the shipping forecast, or people who are feeling homesick, who are writing, or people who are on expeditions in the Antarctic who listen in for that constant. And that's suddenly gone.
Yeah. Do you remember, you old enough to remember RTE in the mornings, maybe they still have it, at 6:30 when they used to come on, they used to play this funny song, music. Yeah. There's something reassuring that you're there for it, that's how your day starts. The same way the day ends with the shipping forecast. When you're somewhere isolated, as bizarre as it sounds, it must be very reassuring and gives you a constant. And that going a long way for people, I get it.
It is funny, and, as I pulled the short straw to read the last one. It was a great honour to do the last one because, I do it so many nights every week. It was lovely that I was given the task of putting the old girl to sleep. Yeah. But it was hugely emotional for not only for me, but so many videos from people filming their little transistor radios with the final sign-off and that final thing, because we played Sailing By as we do every night, that lovely bit of music by Ronald Binge. And then you read it and you get to the end. And my only worry was because the ships had been quite long that week, despite the good weather, that I wasn't going to have time to I had to sort of read the ships very, very fast that night to do the sign off because I felt it was an important thing to do because it meant so much to so many people. My own dad is a great radio listener, and the dad will be sitting in bed with the transistor radio with the headphones on, and he'll be listening on Longwave, and then he'll ring you the next day and tell you he'd been listening and tell you what you said, and you go, Dad, I know, I was there, I said it.
You make a mistake.
Yeah. But it's those people and what it means to those people, and it is. Yeah, I think it's a great loss.
And the sign off you developed, was that instinctive?
The Yehovah thing was one of those sort of natural happy mistakes, I think. Because the same way, let's say if we were out for a night and you were leaving the pub or something like that, and I'd say, good night to you, Yehovah, good luck. Yeah. And it's as simple as that. And there was nothing, because people think it's a subversive thing or it's, just before the national anthem. I've seen it all.
Protest,
Yeah. Yeah, all fair play. And it's nothing like that. It's the same way as I have a colleague who signs off in Welsh and I have a colleague who signs off in Manx and in Scottish. It's a thing now that we do. But I may have started it by doing, the Ihawa thing. But it sort of caught on. It's the same like the letters that we used to get from people. That stemmed, it was 3-4 years ago maybe. And in the summer, the shipping forecast is often quite light. It's quite short because the weather is so good. And I came up short one night and thought, hang on, I've loved the email from a listener. I said, I'm going to read this out and see, because either that I'm going to play a trail for something or mention something, on Desert Island Discs tomorrow, it's such and such. So, well, look, I'll read this letter out from a listener who they were in Hong Kong at a family wedding and they were feeling a little homesick and a little nostalgic. And it was a lovely thing. And I read it out and I thought, that's a nice little thing. And it got me out of a hole. And I just happened to mention that, drop me a line, let me know where you tune in at 12 minutes, or indeed what sailing by means to you. And that was it. The floodgates opened and we were inundated then with letters and emails and postcards from people. Because you forget that so many people listen to it. And it has little or no maritime or shipping value now, because with GPS and navigation.
The world has moved on, but still something.
Yeah, but for small vessels, they still use it. But also, it's mostly insomniacs who can't sleep at night. But
there's something reassuring about it, Al, at the end of the night, the early morning, that the shit, Malin Head is this, and these places that and recognise.
It's the rhythm of it, you know what I mean?
It's Viking, kind of poetic or something,
It is Viking, North at Sierra, South at Sierra, all of those places. But what really brought it home to me was last summer. We were in Belfast during the BBC Proms, and myself and Caroline Nichols. Caroline quite often does the early shipping forecast just before the Today programme. Yeah. And it was 100 years of the ships. It was celebrating 100 years of the shipping forecast. So we did it in Belfast at the Ulster Hall with the Ulster Orchestra. And we had various readings associated, poetry and stuff associated with the shipping forecast. And it was only at the end of it because it was live and we signed off at the end and the orchestra played Sailing By. Next thing, there was a surge towards the stage. I said to Caroline, they've turned nasty. Quick, we've got to get out of here. And they all, the people had all their programs in the air and they came up and there was a queue, 10 deep, for people who just wanted to come up to say to Caroline and myself,
thank you.
Just to say thank you.
Yeah.
For all the late nights that they had nursed sick children.
Yeah.
They had elderly parents, the lonely nights on the road, wherever they might be, that it was a friendly voice in the corner. And it was one of those really, you forget sometimes how many people are there listening in, but it was just amazing how much it means to so many people. There was a lot of love in the room for the shipping forecast.
And you have a great voice, Al, there's no doubt about it. And people, that voice
face for radio.
So do I. I don't on radio, but for podcasts. But the voice means a lot to me. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just weird. Amazing. And it sort of brought it home to us that, it's that connection that people, and it's that constant, that rhythm, that poetry, as you go sort of 3 times clockwise around the British Isles and Ireland with that. And people conjure these images of these faraway places.
And to conjure the image people have in their head about things, a bit like the Wichita Lines one. It's in your head, no matter what people say, you have a vision of that, what that sound means to you.
This is it. And as I often say, radio has the best pictures because it takes people away and it's magical, really. It's a magical thing. And we're very lucky, to be allowed to do it, to read it, especially as an Irish person. I think I'm the first person from the Republic of Ireland, certainly, to read the shipping forecast. We've had a couple of colleagues from Northern Ireland, but I think I'm the first person from the Republic to be allowed to do it. So it's a great honour as an Irishman to be allowed to do that. It's a very nice thing to do.
And do you reflect on your life as a series of coincidences, fortune? How would you summarise it, Al?
Luck, I guess. I suppose when you think back now and you kind of go, what direction am I going to go with all of this, or what's going to happen? It's gone a lot further than I ever thought it would be. And but yeah, I think a lot of it has been luck. As my dad says, it'll all come right in the end. So you
also make your own luck. So
Well,
Well
that's
done.
true. That's true. So, but it's one of those things. But I think I've been lucky, from the get go when I got into radio, and the people that I worked with, and the people who I trained with, and the people that I got advice from, like Brendan Balfe and Gay and
Brendan.
Marty and all of those people. It sort of sticks with you,
Yeah.
and you sort of
God, you
carry
live
that
in the
with
high
us.
octane air life, the high oxygen content with all these famous people. My God.
Well, I don't know, but look at they're friends.
I know,
as
I know.
well,
We're
you know what I mean?
teasing.
They're noble.
I mean,
they're
it
noble
would be no
people,
fun if I didn't tease you, Al.
Well, listen, I'm all up for that. I'm all for that.
Al Ryan, it's been a pleasure to talk today on Aran Island. What do I say? Ihawa?
I think that's a suitable finish.
A great pleasure, and long may it last. Thanks for your time.
Rossa, it's been a joy. Thanks so much.
You're either all in on this model, or maybe you're building with another. You're either speed, or is it security? You're either custom, or are you ready to use? Or you're AWS AI. With hundreds of models, ready-to-use agents, speed and security built in, you don't have to pick a side. You can have them all. How will AI revolutionize your business? AWS AI is how.
Hi, it's Jack from The Best One Yet. And every day, Nick and I break down the most fascinating businesses in the world, which is why we're so excited to talk about Boost Mobile.
The businesses we cover, they're wild. A bachelorette party airplane, a viral protein-enhanced pickle brand, an AI app that lets you cheat on anything.
And every one of those business owners knows that their phone isn't a luxury. Their phone is the entire business infrastructure.
Hey, these companies are launching super specific, beautifully curated passion brands from their dorm rooms, basements, and driver's seats.
We depend on our wireless for literally everything about the show.
Boost lets you use the same phone but with a better plan because every ambition needs a boost.
Literally Boost Mobile, which provides unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month with no contract required.
Simply a much better price than the three big carriers, and Boost service covers 99% of the country.
You're going to have wireless service forever. Saving $25 a month for 10 years, Nick?
You invest that in the stock market, we're talking, $5,000 at least, people. I mean, probably.
Carry the one, add the two. Boost Mobile will make you rich. So visit Boost Mobile today. Every ambition needs a boost.
Join me, Monica Reinagel, for a live taping of the Nutrition Diva podcast in Washington, D.C. On Wednesday, August 19th, we are gathering at the beautiful Friends of the National Arboretum to dive into the science of hydration. We're kicking the evening off with a sunset yoga session, followed by the live podcast recording and an open Q&A. So bring your most burning nutrition and hydration questions. Come for the yoga, come for the show, or do both. A huge thanks to our friends at Liquid IV for making this night possible and keeping us hydrated all evening long. Spots are limited. Grab yours and RSVP now at nutritiondivadc.com.